can start without Chris, right?
Yeah, yeah. Said
There's Andy. Andy, is that you?
Yes, it is.
All right, so we will call the meeting to order. It's 6:02. Yeah, the first thing on the agenda is to organize, so we have to elect a new chair. Any nominations for the chair?
Terry, would you like to do it?
Oh, all right, Giuliano.
All right. I nominate Terry Rail for chair.
Second.
Any discussion? Mhm. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mhm. Those opposed? Okay. Good. And we will need a new vice chair then. So anyone want to make a motion for a vice chair?
I'm not going to do it.
Do you want to do it?
No. But I will.
Well, so this is a question, Juliana. Maybe you will remember this, and we have Sonia too, so maybe Sonia can help us. When we did community members on committees, we talked about could a community member be chair or vice chair, and I honestly don't remember.
I don't think it was ever agreed upon.
Yeah, you said they couldn't be chair. I don't know if you discussed vice chair.
I assume it would work the same way, because if the chair's not there,
Yeah.
the vice chair becomes chair for that meeting.
Right. Sonia, do you recall?
My recollection is the same. I don't recall that we, I think we may have discussed, could they be the chair? But I don't think we ever said vice chair.
All right. You sure, Juliana?
No, to make it simple, I will do it.
Okay.
I will. I'm more than willing to do it.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, I will nominate Giuliano for vice chair.
Second.
Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. Still on the hook now.
Good job, guys.
We figured it out. It's a team effort. Awesome. Thank you. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
I have none.
None. Juliana, anything?
Nope.
Andy, you good with the agenda?
I'm all set.
Okay. All right.
Are you gonna have a motion to approve it?
Are we doing that at the committees? We are.
We're kind of supposed to, because we
Okay,
said
nope,
we're
all right.
So moved.
So move, there we go. So Andy, in a second.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so we have an agenda. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Do we have any members of the public that would like to make a public comment on something not on the agenda? Okay, none of those. Next item is review and approval of the meeting minutes from November 14th, 2022. Someone like to make a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or changes?
I have none.
Juliana, you're good?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's good, okay. Andy, anything for you?
All set.
Okay. No other discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? Okay, we're good there. Awesome, thank you. Item 6, new business, is the 10-year strategic plan concept, and I guess this is for me. I brought it up at the board meetings, and then the plan was to discuss it at each of the committees, and then we probably circle back in a matter of time, probably a month or so out, and discuss it again after we've had a chance to talk about it at the committees. So know, Jamie's probably heard me squawk about this enough, but Mary Jane, you probably haven't. But so the concept, we talked about it here a little bit, but the concept was, can we look at our whole district as a whole and identify any opportunities in anything to become more efficient, more of a true unified district instead of silos, I guess is probably the best way. And we had been talking and calling it a consolidation plan, but I think that was the wrong word. And Juliana had some really good words for it. I didn't write them down again, Juliana.
You're testing me on this. I think I come up with new words each time.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay, right? So, but anyway, so that's kind of was the concept, and you know, from facilities things to curriculum things to school buses, transportation, you name it, anything could certainly become part of this. And can we make decisions considering everything versus just a decision about Berrytown or Berry City or Spalding and those things? So facilities certainly seems as though it would fit really well into like Jamie already has a 5-year kind of a strategic capital plan, right? So it's kind of the same thing that Jamie already does for facilities. So if we go out even further, it's even better. So I guess I'll stop talking and see what you all have to say or think about it. And Jamie, we can start with you.
Well, I guess I start with a question. In your thinking, Terry, are you thinking starting with the areas you just mentioned for like busing and the education piece and whatnot? Are you starting maybe in those areas? And then I guess the facility is kind of the ultimate piece of it.
Yeah. I think the easy answer, Jamie, is I don't know, right? I think it's see where these go. It's been interesting as we've had since bringing this up initially, and we've had different conversations in different committees and at the board level, and different topics have come up. They really, if you listen to the topics that are coming up and think of them in terms of something like this, where can we make a decision with all the buildings versus just one or two? This certainly can touch anything. So I don't know what the first priority would be. And I think that's kind of the idea of everybody discussing first, right, at the committees, and who knows what the right place is. You know, one of the things we did talk about is there a way to become more efficient with the elementary schools, potentially, you know, shifting things around and instead of having two standalone elementary schools, do them together. But that would be much further out, right? That's a huge undertaking and certainly wouldn't happen anytime soon. But facilities, transportation, curriculums, and it certainly sounds like Karen Fredericks is already well underway of aligning curriculums between buildings. So that's an effort that kind of aligns with this as well. So so I don't know what would be the first items.
Just a quick question. From just what I've been hearing in these meetings, it seems like facilities is kind of pretty consistent throughout the district. Like you have a plan for each building. It's building based, not necessarily school. It has to be school based or building based because of the nuances of each building, but it doesn't sound like there's vast differences on how you prioritize or handle projects and so forth.
Yeah, and that's a little bit separate than this 10-year plan. If the ultimate goal is to consolidate K-4 in one building, 5-8 in another,
That could be
that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to preface this. I always like to preface this when I start getting into the educational piece. I'm a facilities guy, and I don't preface to have any expertise in education. So I always like to start to say that.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want to step on anybody's toes in the education world.
Yeah.
But my mind kind of, and I just jotted down a few quick things that came to my mind about this 10-year concept plan. If we're going to consolidate the actual school buildings, again, if it's K-4 in one, 5-8, is the education part first, you know, the whole education part of it, the curriculum part of it, you know, to start polling the teachers, you know, what do you guys think? You know, right off the bat, what is your first thought? You know, pros and cons, starting with the actual teachers. You know, you guys are the ones teaching the students. What's your thought? You know, go to them first. And that's, you know, and with education, I guess it's, you know, it's athletics,
right?
It's the music departments, drama departments, arts departments, you know, consolidating those are going to get consolidated as well.
Yep. Like, I think athletics is a great one, right? If we, and I don't know if consolidating teams is the right thought process, but if we thought of, like we talked about the fields, right? Would it make more sense that, we have a sports complex instead of maintaining fields at all three facilities? I mean, we have them, so we probably would keep them, but, have one showpiece athletic piece in the whole thing, right? Like that would help, I think, help folks get on plan with doing what we want to do here, right? It's that, for the big games or the whatever, you bring them down to the high school, right?
But we don't.
But we don't, no,
Well,
but we
well,
could, right?
Well, no, we don't own the athletic fields anymore.
Oh, in Berrytown, right?
And Berry City doesn't have a real athletic complex.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just Spalding.
So that helps too, right? So we could, if that would certainly help the conversation about our athletic complex here. If we are talking about kind of all doing the same thing, could we do the improvements to our athletic complex here? And, if there's a Berrytown team or a Berry City team, they come here and play. Right?
But yeah, we do have access to use the athletic facilities though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not responsible. We can't go in there and start doing things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So I don't know. I think there's so many moving pieces to this, and from facilities, I think Mary Jane's right. I think facilities really already is kind of, you already have a 5-year strategic plan for the big repairs and the capital projects and those things, which is kind of the right idea. And what are other things? I mean, this is a facility / transportation committee. If you combine, is there changes in transportation? I don't know. There probably could be, but
I actually think there's probably going to be huge ramifications to the facilities potentially, because as you start
Oh, there is.
combining the needs of a middle school versus the needs of an elementary school are completely different. And what kind of are you going to need science labs and so forth, and bigger classrooms?
Bathrooms,
and,
everything.
you have to think about everything. Right?
Restrooms, the furniture within a classroom,
Yep.
if the countertops, whatever are lower,
Yep,
now they're gonna be
exactly.
higher or vice versa.
Yep.
Or-
It's all doable, but just has to be.
Yeah, it's a big plan. It's a big plan, right? So, and I think it's a long time in the coming. I don't think it happens. It's definitely nothing that's going to happen anytime soon. But certainly, the conceptual phase and just talking about it is where we're at. It's kind of exciting to hear when you get some folks to talk about it. I've had some conversations with the administrators, the building administrators, and I like some of the stuff I hear them saying. It's cool. It's cool stuff. So I think it's when we started it out. I think this is positive for every stakeholder. I really do. I think there's benefits to this for everybody.
I think it's got some benefits to the community to take some of the stigma away between Berry City and Berrytown. I know it's slowly starting to go away, but there's always been a community stigma a little bit, and I think that would help it too.
Long time.
Yeah, some deliberate steps to do that. And I think I said it in one of the things too. I like, at one of the board meetings, we talked about what could we do in 3 to 5. I like the idea of a 10-year plan, because again, from a capital perspective or a budget perspective, if folks can look at it, hey, they've got a 10-year plan for all the big facilities projects and for the big capital projects, it's much easier for someone to say, you know what, I can get behind that budget and support it, because I know next year they're not coming back with a whole bunch of stuff. I already know what they're coming back with next year. Right? So I think there's some value in that as well. But
Has this concept been brought to all the committees now
I
at this
think
point?
I think we're kind of just starting.
I don't think it's not the curriculum.
No, it
committee
hasn't
yet.
been a curriculum.
And that was one where it has some of the biggest, most positive
yeah.
ramifications, actually.
And Karen's already started
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of this process.
Well,
So
she'll be hallelujah for this.
Yeah.
I think, but I don't actually know. I don't think it has.
I think
come
it's
up.
on the schedule Thursday
Yeah.
for finance. So I don't think so. I think we're just starting. I think we
I'll
might be
just
the
start.
first. So yeah. And then we'll see where the conversation goes from there. So anybody online want to weigh in? Andy or Sonia?
I do not want to weigh in. I think
I'm all
it's,
set.
go ahead, Andy.
No, I'm just saying I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, certainly, I'm sure we'll have more discussions in the future, but it's nice to think about it from, I like the idea that we did this, went to the committees, because we can kind of get a little narrow
Let's get
focus.
started.
And yeah, it's nice to talk about it. And I know one of the early conversations, Luke, clearly Luke's thinking these things because he just kind of, I watched him, I was sitting next to him, he just, and wrote down about 15 things just like that. And
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
so I think folks are talking about this. And like I said, I think there's a lot of opportunities, not just combining elementary schools. I think there's a lot of opportunities at a lot of things that, you know, do exactly what you're saying. It makes us one and makes it stop feeling like it's two communities. So,
Well, and just for that reason you just said, each committee, you're gonna have, you know, those expertises in each committees. You know, like Luke's come from an educational standpoint. So he could rattle off, you know, a dozen or so right off the top of his head. You know?
yeah.
For me, for facilities, you know, I can start rattling off, these are things you're gonna have to deal with in buildings. You know, curriculum, and then you start breaking out into all the specials, you know,
Yeah.
music and art, and phys ed,
Yeah.
you know, all those programs,
Yeah.
what it would mean for them.
But even like your capital projects, Jamie, I mean, I like the idea. I like the thought of having a 10-year plan, right? If you know, we could sit here and say, all right, we're going to start this in 2 years. And, you know, 3 years ago we did the roof and they're longer than this, but they're 10-year roofs. It gets plotted on this thing, right? And people can look at that and go, hey, you know what? Year 7, the budget's going to have some roofing in it, right? We already know. We can plan ahead. So that's really, I think that's cool, having the ability to do that. I think, like I said, I think there's benefits, not just financial. I think there's financial benefits, but I think there's benefits for every stakeholder, right? For all of us, for the community, for the kids, for the teachers, for you name it. I do. I think this is good stuff.
There's a few critical needs though for some of the schools, like for Berrytown. There's not really a dedicated like security type barrier, so you can get buzzed in and you have access to
The whole place.
Yep.
one main hall right off the bat.
Yep.
Yep.
By the time you get to the office, you know, who's going to stop you?
Yep.
In dark.
And Spalding really doesn't have a backup generator,
Yeah.
you know, and our server serves the whole district. So what happens when the power goes out?
Well, we did address that actually just in the last year or so. They have, the servers are backed up by UPSs, by batteries.
But I mean, depending on the type of outage,
Right.
you only have a certain amount of time, just like the security lights.
Right. So yeah, so that's a long discussion there as well. We don't need to get into that now, but yes, generator is something to think about. Depends on what the end goal is. You know, currently what we have for UPSs for the servers is long enough where they can maintain them, they can watch them, they can progressively shut them down as needed. If it looks like you're going to be out of power for more than that couple, 3 hours, where at that point you got to make the call to close school. But if you know it's a short outage, you know, when you start watching it, we can get along with the battery backup for them. Could be no power's back on in an hour or so. You just have to watch it. Would the generator be better? Certainly, yeah. Then you wouldn't worry about that at all. But obviously, a lot more money, a lot more expense, a lot more maintenance expense. You know, Berrytown, Berry City has them, but the cons would be the expense to maintain them, as well as the initial purchase.
Right. I like security. I think that's a perfect one. That hasn't even crossed my mind yet. You know, consistent security measures in each building, right? So, you know, no matter who goes to what building, they're familiar with the security systems because they're all the same in all 3 buildings. I don't know if they are currently, but you know,
There's similar protocols. And,
yeah.
It's a very good point you make about Berrytown, though. I was just there this morning, and it's like you get in that door, there's nobody right there.
Yeah.
They do buzz you in, they can see you, but
But right, you see, yeah. I mean, how many people walk in behind the person that got buzzed?
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot.
Yeah. And just prior to COVID, before COVID came, the practice was, you know, parents got buzzed in, the parents waited in the cafeteria, met up with their students, their children, and they left from that point. Now, since COVID, you know, parents aren't coming into the building. So that has kind of changed some of that a little bit, with the amount of visitors that come in.
it's less busy for sure.
Yeah. So that it's switched it a little bit, but it's still that same concern, but in a different way.
Yeah.
But they always talk about trying to move a portion of that, like that front office, out towards those doors. But then it was like, well, but then where do all the parents stay? And where the parents congregate to pick up their children? You know, and then do they still then at a point go to the cafeteria? So yeah, that front entry has been known that, you know, we need somebody to do a study on it, and a design. You know, how can this be improved?
Yeah.
So it's been known for a little while. But again, then all of a sudden COVID came in, that it makes it up that much more.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
But it sounds like it tightened it up a little bit as well.
It did in a sense, yeah.
A little bit.
All right. Anybody have anything else? Good. So certainly we can, I think this conversation is going to continue and evolve and grow, and as we move on, maybe get more formalized, but I guess just conceptual phase now. So if you think of anything, certainly we can add it to our list and bring it to the board and talk about it. So, good. Thank you. Old business 7.1 5-year plan update. So we got that. We're going to packets.
Well, I guess, update in the sense that no, let me find it here, I guess. And I want to say too, this is an ever evolving, fluid chart. This is just a bit of a menu just to make, folks aware what are some of the big ticket items that we have. And some of them are just sort of ongoing, like, flooring, taking up carpet, tiles, going back with new. That's an annual event. Some door replacements, depending on between Berry City, Berry Town, interior, exterior doors. It's wear and tear. Metallic fitting work at Berry City has just been an ongoing project on an annual basis. For people who don't know what that is how the piping is joined together up in the ceiling for the heating system. It's not the best design, and in order to replace it, correct it, is to take that pipe out and install a new pipe that you can weld, and it takes the seams away. So that Victalic is the brand of the fitting. It's more or less a metal clamp that clamps the two ends of the pipe together. The brand is Victalic, so that's what that means.
I have a question about that, Jamie. Sorry.
Go ahead.
You have it it's down for Spalding. And if it's around the heating system, is some of that gonna be absorbed in some of the new HVAC project or no?
No.
Okay,
That's a separate.
I wasn't sure.
Well, and as well, we do have a little bit of that here at the high school. It's near the gymnasium end of the building.
Oh,
We did
okay.
that addition some years ago. So we're chasing some of that, getting rid of that. And we have done a good section of it in the gym in the last few years.
Okay.
But just wanted to
I
have
was
that on the
curious.
radar. That's a little bit of an ongoing project for a bit.
Great.
So it's not really a whole lot to, report out other than these are some of the items that we have, and
Yep. Okay.
it's a good marker to keep track of, and it helps me. It's a menu for me to keep projects in line.
Right. Juliana, you have anything for that?
I don't.
Okay. Andy, you have anything?
I'm good.
Okay. Jamie, you had, for the budgeting process, you had given us a document, and I don't know if it has a name on the top of it, but it's kind of a not a wish list, but a list of things, and some of them aren't on here. Can we get those added as well? Well, I was trying to find it and bring it with me. I couldn't find it. I'll see if I can find it. But when we started the budgeting process, you had given us there's a document there. I'll see if I can find it and forward it to you. But the ones that aren't on there, if we could add those, because I think like you said, it's just nice because it's a nice thing to work off of and be able to look at and see, especially for budgeting and those things. If those are on there as well, that would be cool. So I'll find them and send it to you.
All right. Yep.
Sure.
I'll
Got it
be-
somewhere. I just gotta find it. So awesome. Anything else on that? So move on to 7.2 EEI update.
That ball is rolling fast. So
Meeting tomorrow.
yeah, we have a weekly meeting every Tuesday, sometimes in person, sometimes virtually, just for EEI to update us, where they are with all their steps. Where they are, they've got all the contractors lined up, contracts signed with their contractors. They're doing the background checks, fingerprinting, that's been happening quickly. They're slated to start January 2nd, the day that all the staff and kids come back from vacation break. Dumpsters will be delivered here during the winter break. So they'll have dumpsters in place. They'll have kind of a mini office set up in one of the rooms upstairs. Things ready to go. There's a access door control going to be installed at the bottom stairwell door over to the side of the cafeteria. That's their access route up to the top floor where they're going to be doing the work. So that's the only access that outside contractor will have into our building is through that door. We met with the state and city fire marshals last week to review what EEI wants to do to set in place, barriers where you separate the students from the contractors, where contractors can go, where students can't go. Fire marshals were very happy with what they set up for, as they called the soft barriers, the hard barriers. They're on board. So during the vacation week, EEI and contractors will be here on site to start setting some of that up. Fire marshals want to come back just before the 2nd to then review, okay, I want to see what it is that you actually did, sign off on it. Yeah, we're happy. You can open school on the 2nd. Yeah, everything's looking,
That's cool.
it's in place, in line, ready to
Teachers are
go.
all on board and
Yeah.
ready.
Big plan, yeah.
Yeah, no, they're excited about it.
We have a full-size storage trailer being delivered on the 19th, up on the front corner of the property of the building to store all the classroom furniture. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Excited and nervous at the same time.
Absolutely. It's a big project. Right?
It's huge.
Alice Farrell, and Chris, you might help me remember this. Alice Farrell asked, are measures in place for any kids that may have respiratory issues, asthma, and that stuff? And Chris and I explained to her that from our understanding is the construction area, there won't be any kids in the construction area, and it will all be under negative pressure. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there anything else if she thought that in certain scenarios there may need to be more, but I think negative pressure kind of takes care of
The
everything.
way they described it to us, that when they're doing the asbestos abatement, that the air in the areas that they're doing the work is actually going to be as clean, if not cleaner, than the air within the building, because they're scrubbing the air. They're pulling the air from outside, scrubbing it, dumping it outside. They said that. It says, I don't know if we want to say this or not. They said, but the air in this construction area, when they're doing that work, will be as clean, if not cleaner, than the air in your building. Everything's plasticed off. It's it's permitted. It's inspected. They have a contractor come in, an environmental contractor come in, and then test the air after the work is done to see what airborne particles are in the air before they can release it for other contractors then to come in and do the work. So I think it'll be signed off, tested according to state codes.
Awesome. Okay. Please fill her in. There's steps through the way where they're doing testing, additional testing and stuff. Perfect. Make sure to let her know that.
Yeah.
Good. Anybody else have any questions on the EEI update? Andy, you're good?
Yep, I'm good.
And I'm just gonna let you, if you have something, just jump in instead of asking each time, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, thank you. All right, so next one is the asbestos remediation update.
Well, I don't know how much more I can say. I kind of touched on that already. I don't know if you want to speak about the financial part of it or just the nuts and bolts part of it.
Well, I think the questions that I got from other board members were as far as this goes, the piece that's encompassed within the HVAC and sprinkler project, I think that's all set. We don't have to worry about that. I think the only concerns I heard from other board members were the pieces of that are outside of that footprint that are separate, that are included in the additional charges and that stuff, right? So, and what were the options for that? So certainly some concerns.
Yeah, so I heard, obviously the concern is about the expense, what it's got, the expense of remediating the asbestos sealant tiles throughout the building. I'm going to go rogue a little bit and say, this is nothing that we shouldn't even consider not doing it. And the reasons why is, first of all, it's asbestos. Now that we know we have asbestos in sealant tiles, how can we in good faith, I'm going to use the word ignore, not removing those sealant tiles? You've got students, you've got staff. Kids are going to throw pencils up there. It's going to disturb the material. Now you've disturbed asbestos containing material, and now it's airborne. You're not going to stop kids from being kids. Somebody jumps up, wants to, practice their high jump, knocks the ceiling tile out. You're creating dust. And now that we know there's asbestos in the tile, you're creating an unsafe, condition. You're creating asbestos in the air.
Do we have the bottom line now, like what this is going to be?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just now a matter of how do we do that?
Right.
Get it done.
And I don't know if we want to get into the money part of it, because this is facilities. I know Lisa has walk that out, provided the
There's
numbers.
certainly something we can talk about Thursday evening too.
Yeah, 'cause this is actually from the
Yeah.
finance packet, so.
And I actually sat down with Lisa today and she gave me all the finite numbers. And that fear of butchering this, you know, I'd rather she
Yeah.
explain it, because you'll
Yeah,
explain
yeah,
it better than I
No,
can.
absolutely. So.
I also want to touch a little bit more too. For example, let's say we choose, you know, a hallway of rooms not to do the ceiling tiles. That's going to affect the installation of the sprinkler system. They're not going to be able to install it as well as they should have. It's not going to allow us to do the light fixtures as well, because in order to pull those light fixtures out, now you're disturbing tiles. Now that we know we have asbestos ceiling tiles, even right now, you know, one of my maintenance guys, they want to run a data cable across that ceiling. Absolutely not. You now cannot move those ceiling tiles. It's going to prohibit us from ever entering a ceiling down the road if we choose not to remove the asbestos ceiling tiles. It's going to limit us from so many things that we can and cannot do. But number one is just safety, health.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, in my mind, it's a no-brainer. You can't not do it.
Okay. Yeah. Questions, concerns, comments?
No.
No?
Sorry. Did you say my name?
Oh, do you have something, Sonia?
No. I'm sorry. I'm cooking dinner and I thought I heard you say Sonia. I apologize.
Okay. What are you making?
Yeah, don't tell us.
You probably don't want to know.
Thank you. Okay. So I just for, and if there's anybody because we covered a lot of this in our last meeting, I think, but I thought didn't hurt if we maybe just kind of go through what were the options that Eric had presented to us last week. And I think I've got them, but help me if I've got any of them wrong. So the first option obviously is complete all the remediation as soon as possible, get it done.
With the exception of the stage ceiling. That we've
Yes,
already agreed
that
on. We're not
is
going to
not
do the stage
included,
ceiling.
right, yeah. Second one I think that he mentioned was you don't do any at this time, which immediately begs the next question, and you've already touched on it a little bit. What are the operational impacts and financial impacts to the other projects? Because it's going to impact those if we don't do anything.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to affect all the lighting. So any room that has asbestos ceiling tile on it, they essentially can't do the lighting, which then cuts into our savings, the rebate from Efficiency Vermont, cuts down on efficiency of new light fixtures. Remind ourselves again that by January of 2024, fluorescent lighting is being banned from the sale of installing fluorescent light fixtures. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't do this.
And I think the third one that he had mentioned was some sort of a, for lack of a better word, a staggered or multi-year plan to do the remediation, to spread it over X number of years. And again, if I recall from what he said, that immediately begs that same question: is if you do that, then it's going to impact the HVAC and HVAC sprinkler and lighting project, right? Is that correct? Okay, all right. And I think those were the three options that he presented. Do you recall anything different? I don't. I think that was it. Okay. All right.
If I could just for a second too, just paint the picture, just for discussion's sake, let's say we chose not to replace the ceiling tiles in the areas that aren't affected by the HVAC project. That means you can't do all of that lighting in those rooms, as well as by doing the new lighting, we're also getting new ceiling tiles in all those areas. So before we knew we had asbestos ceiling tiles, the plan was to go through and install all new lighting throughout the entire building. So let's just kind of fast forward a little bit. Okay, this is nice. We've got fantastic new LED lighting. The lighting looks great. Oh, by the way, chunky 1964 ceiling tiles all beat up and yellow and scrappy. The aesthetics of the building is just going to improve so much more as well. It's a bit of a blessing in disguise that is something we've needed to do for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Now
I'm
we're being forced to
correcting
do it.
the footprint of the HVAC and sprinkler, that was all included. That's included in that price, right? That's my understanding from what he had told us that day, was any of the tiles in the footprint of where we're already doing the HVAC project, the sprinkler project, or lighting project is included in the 7.2 million.
On the very top floor. The very top floor, that's built into the contingency to do asbestos abatement, as well as all brand new ceilings and tiles.
All right. And then the only other thing, Amy, was that I had a question on was, so, the 456, and because we didn't talk about this at the last time when we had Eric with us, while we're in there, the plan is to upgrade the wiring in that area to meet code. Is that correct?
I just called Eric just the other day just to confirm that any of the wiring to any of the light fixtures, if there is the old Romex cost covered kind of wiring, if the wiring, the electrical inspector is going to require them to replace that wiring. So again,
As part of the lighting project or part of this?
as part of the lighting project.
Okay.
So irregardless of the ceiling tiles, whether they're asbestos or not, when they replace the light fixtures, when they find the old wiring, they must replace that wiring with the newer style
Okay.
MC cable.
So in the figure for the extra asbestos remediation, the 456, 450,000, there's no money in there for electrical. That's already taken care of in the main part of the project.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that was factored in before we knew we had
Okay.
asbestos ceiling tiles.
All right.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so the last piece, and Lisa, I'm sure we'll talk about this Thursday night, but she had included on this that 157 of it would be put into the FY24 budget, and then 341 probably come from the capital reserve fund.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's going to get some questions on it on Thursday for sure. So,
yeah. And those numbers you just threw out there, those are the same numbers that she and I spoke of today.
Yep. Yeah,
Again,
yeah, it's right
I
on
can
there.
speak to it, but I know I'll
she's-
butcher it a little bit rather than,
I'm sure she's going to cover it on Thursday for us in detail. So I'm sure that'll be fun.
and I'll be in attendance at that meeting as well,
Good.
so I can help speak to it as she speaks to it.
So as a committee, do we have a preference on options and want to make a recommendation to the board?
Option one.
Yeah.
Option one.
Yeah, I would say replace the ceiling tiles and remediate, and then
Thank you for that.
because why do a bunch of projects at this point?
Get down the road.
Okay. All right. Andrea?
Yes.
And so for something like this to make a recommendation to the board, does that need to be a motion?
Usually it is, someone will move that you make that the facilities committee make a recommendation to the board that they choose option one to do all remediation, except the stage area.
Okay. And Andy, just for this one, do you have a preference on options?
Number one.
Number one. Okay. So it looks like a consensus on number one. All right. So if we want to make a recommendation to the board, does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we,
What Andrea said?
sure. I think that's good enough.
Can we do that, Andrea? Is that okay?
That is okay.
All right. And a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I
All right, good. And opposed? None? Okay, so we will make a recommendation to the board. Thank you.
Yeah, and I thank you too. That's the best decision. It's the only decision, in my opinion.
Let's see, item number 7.4, so C, transportation. Who brought this up? Geez.
If Stacy and I are meeting with Jason tomorrow.
Yep.
So to talk about a couple different things that have come up in recent meetings. If you can just give me a review of kind of what you're looking for here. I know it involves, this is more about kind of efficiencies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually went and spent some time and Jason
Yeah.
and I talked about it, and Jason was great. Jason's like, I don't know, I really didn't think about it. And really the only reason for bringing it up was we did buy some additional vehicles so we could do some more transportation. And once signing warrants, I see that we're still paying mileage, which Lisa did say, but the amount that we're paying mileage is much less, right?
Yes.
So we're utilizing those vehicles much more. But is with that, and staff are, as we talk about staffing issues, and staff are moving kids around, is there an opportunity to do something different with transportation that would be more efficient, be less expensive, but still meet the goal that sounds like is a pretty important goal. The transportation has driven attendance at sea really
it's
through the roof.
been
So,
enormously helpful.
so we don't want to screw
Yeah.
that up, but is there an opportunity to be more efficient? So Jason, I had a good conversation
Okay.
with him, but yeah, if we can.
I'll,
dig into it
I'll,
more.
I'll reach out to him for the meeting tomorrow morning and just give him a heads up. We'll put that on our agenda. I think it's an important discussion to have, and it's a tough spot for walkers.
Right.
Obviously with winter coming too, but it has had a huge impact.
Yeah.
Because holy cow.
Yep. Yeah, and he was good about that and
Yep.
discussing that. So.
Okay.
I think the question of liability around staff transporting
Oh yeah, it's
children
always an
around
issue.
came
It's
up,
always
was
an issue.
another topic. that was
Yeah,
brought up.
and Luke brought that up. He
Yeah.
had mentioned that, it's always tricky when you're having staff transport kids. All right, cool.
This might be my chance too, to, I guess, just plant the seeds, start the conversation. The parking lot that's there, we're starting to outgrow it. With the addition of the 3 C vehicles that they have, the staff that we have. And at the time, they were, a bit understaffed for the building. So now they're getting more and more staff on board, as well as, the vehicles they have or not. I mean, we're finding that parking lot's kind of outgrown it already. So if we're not prepared yet to start thinking seriously about, expanding the building, we might want to consider expanding the parking lot prior to expanding the building. So I just want to plant that seed to start having that conversation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that goes right to our first item, right? This 10-year plan. I think those are all things that we got to look at and maybe address
And
sooner rather
There
than later.
really aren't other parking options up there. You're not going to park across the way. The residents
Right, you can't
across
park on the street, right? Yeah.
And when this building was designed, at the same time, they designed what the expansion would look like. So when you pull into that parking lot, you come to the end and the barn is up on the hill to your right, that green pasture area right straight in front of you, that's where it will expand to. So it's already been figured and designed and plotted on that piece of property to do so. So, just to throw it out there.
Absolutely. Anybody have anything else on that one? Okay. Awesome. Other business. Does anyone have anything for other business?
I just want to share the question that you had brought up some time ago, Terry, was about our procedures for putting out projects to bid.
Mhm.
So Lisa and I, like I said, it was always an unwritten procedure, and we did it and we knew what to do. And now we have formalized, put it in writing. And it's on the website, the BUUSD website under the business office. So that procedure is there now.
Cool.
So that's where you can find it.
And I should have mentioned this one earlier when we covered the asbestos remediation update. I did talk to Lisa about, hey, same question of the lighting project. Is this a separate project? Is it not a separate project? Does it require going out for bid and whatnot? And I don't know. I don't recall if I followed up with her on that one or not, but I'm assuming she did that, but I can certainly check with her and make sure she did.
Yeah, she's done her homework on that. She and I have had those conversations. She's been reaching out to the ESSER folks, reaching out to Eric. And this is, this has become a project of the original bidded out project. But she could certainly speak to it better than I have.
Okay. Awesome. Any other business for anyone?
A couple questions. I've seen coming out of the smokestack, dark black smoke. What causes that?
Sometimes, but I think it's just when it just fires up. When
Just
it first
in the
fires
very
up.
beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of our wood chip boilers have, they call it a cyclone. So there's like a fan in there. It's like a funnel, big tapered funnel, and the fan circulates the smoke. And as it's circulating smoke, any particulates that are in there, the centrifugal force forces those particles to the wall, and then they fall down. And they actually get collected in a metal barrel, and it's more or less wood ash. It's really fine wood ash. It's almost like talcum powder. It's so fine. So essentially, the smoke that comes out, it's clean smoke. Right. But if you're seeing that, I think it's when it first starts up. But let me ask the question in case there's something, if I'm missing something. But that's what I've been told before.
Okay. And I know that probably the time has passed for paving, but up at Berry Town, there's that speed bump. That's half a speed bump.
Oh, yeah.
What side do you drive on?
That's the thing, because you see parents kind of avoiding it
Totally.
and going into the opposite lane to avoid the
You
bump.
know what one.
I do.
Everybody
The
knows
one I
that.
drive over it.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. Well, but, so that speed bump and that actually, that part of that straightaway belongs to the town of Berry. It doesn't belong to Berry Town School.
Rec road or really.
Yeah, it's part of the rec department's road.
That's another question too. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Like, so there's the
I'm gonna have
field
to pay
across
attention next week
right
when I go
next
up.
Yeah.
to that
Can't miss
road. Is that Berry
So
Town
what,
as well? And then all the playground stuff belongs to us. There's that dividing wire.
Rope, the wooden post with a rope wire going through
Yeah,
it.
so all the, every post that's not painted red off goes from that is Berry Town, because we have a post that's painted red.
I guess the easier way is if you're coming out of the back of the school and the first set of wooden posts, wire fencing that goes along from there back towards the school, that's ours, and that's what we maintain. That's what the kids play on, that we maintain. Playground equipment, the grass that we mow. And we mow, the big grassy lawn right in front, in between the bus loop, that's ours, we mow that. But yeah, all those ball fields, I mean, our students go out and they have, gym class and activities and whatnot, and you have use of it, but the school does not own any of those fields anymore. Just the ones really adjacent to the building. And I know that's a quick explanation of what is ours, but yeah, so the field you just mentioned, that driveway with the speed bumps, the field to the right, that's the town of Berry. Everything all around that, the baseball fields, softball fields, all that, the soccer fields, the track, that's all
And
town
then
of
once the
Berry.
parking spaces start, that belongs to the BUSD.
Correct. Yeah. So we paved when we repaved that parking lot, it was kind of a funny little dividing line. We paved up to that point. There's some catch basins, some of them are ours, some of them were the towns. But when we paved that, we paved what was ours, and that, if I remember correctly, we didn't pave that straightaway. That straightaway was there. We paved from there over, if I remember correctly. But so yeah, the speed bumps aren't ours. Those are the town of Berry.
We'd reach out. to
And the
them
town
and
of
see
Berry
if we
plows that as well. So the
remove
town of
that
Berry
other
would
half.
have pulled up
Yeah,
the speed bumps.
well, no, I wouldn't, I guess because they can't put asphalt down because the plant's probably closed by now. They'd have to remove it so that,
Remove it just for the winter and then.
Yeah.
redo it.
and then if they do put it back, it needs to be lighted. The speed bumps need to be lit. That's a totally different conversation.
Really?
You have to see them. They have to be designated
Gotcha.
speed bump.
Is that a new building code?
No, the city of Berry had to do it. They had to position their speed bumps
By the streetlights.
by the streetlights.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the
And I-
ones at Berry City aren't set up that way.
I think they're close.
They're close
They have to
enough.
be a
You can
certain
see 'em.
distance.
Yeah.
If you can't see those speed bumps, you're in trouble.
You're in big trouble.
I feel them.
Yeah.
That's the idea,
Those
right?
are
You're
big
catching
league
there.
speed bumps.
Yeah, those almost speed tables.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Anyone else with other business? Okay. Awesome. Items for Andrea.
I had a question just for clarification in the minutes. Is somebody going to discuss the speed bump with the town of Berry or no? And if somebody is, who? And I'll get it into the minutes.
I'll reach out to the town of Berry. I'll ask about the speed bumps and what they can do about it.
At least give them a heads up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, items for future agendas. Probably another EEI update, right?
Yeah,
We'll
so
be in full swing.
they've all
Yeah.
started.
They'll be
Yeah, so I'll
going.
give you a little update on
Yep.
how the kickoff went.
Maybe touch on the asbestos again by then. I believe, we do have the asbestos will be on, it won't be on the second board meeting this week, but, this month, but I believe it's gonna be on the first meeting in January, so maybe we can have an asbestos update. And do you think we should throw C-Trans on again, Chris, after you guys have a conversation? Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be, we'll get some ideas. I mean, I don't know if we'll have full answers yet.
No, but just, yeah.
We'll
a
start,
discussion.
we'll
Yep.
just start kicking ideas around.
Yep. think of anything else? Jamie, do you have anything?
Should we throw the 10-year strategic plan just to see what the other committees are
Yeah,
having
we
for
can,
their
we can touch base,
conversation?
yeah, and everybody would have cycled through, so yeah,
Just a quick one.
yeah, cycle back through. Yeah, okay. Let's see, when we meet next time, we won't have voted on the budget yet, so we won't have that update. Right, well, that's enough. If we think of any more, we can add.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this a good time to talk about where we'll be meeting for the next one?
Yeah, so if nobody has anything for that, so next meeting is for January 9th, but we need to have a different location because there will be a function here on the 9th.
You do the central office,
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
There
it's
you go.
that stuff.
the conference table downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can just bring the apparatus over.
Okay.
No big deal.
Yeah, they're having a winter art show.
Oh, right,
Here in
right.
the library.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Beth made me aware of that the other day.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Now, okay, that's, we don't have to worry about that here. But is that like, or is it just that night?
The day or two.
Okay.
I just
all right,
know
we'll
it
be fine.
affects that meeting.
But for this group,
Yeah.
certainly going across the way is no
Okay.
big deal. Cool. I mean, I think that'd be easy.
Yeah, that's plenty of room. Yeah, yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, perfect. Okay. I guess that is it. So we can have
Right,
a,
Jane, you know where, right? Right.
Mhm.
anyone would like to make a motion to adjourn?
So
Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Those opposed? Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, all.
Yeah, very good.
Hey, we'll do that under an hour.